just nice quiet day today. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and start by just breathing into our heart space. And we'll just kind of settle the energy right into our own hearts. So we're going to breathe in from 360 degrees around us into the heart. And then we'll exhale that back out from the heart. And as we draw in 360 degrees from the heart, we're drawing in all the different aspects of ourselves. We're allowing all parts of ourselves to come right back in through the heart. The heart's has an amazing capacity to neutralize, transmute, zero out, all kinds of things. So again, we'll take a nice deep inhale from 360 degrees around us, right into the heart, and exhaling it back out from the heart, 360 degrees. There we go. And so what I'm seeing is, like, in the center of the heart space, and this has been happening energetically for a lot of folks lately, there's literally like the essence of us, or the essence is being ignited, is the best way I can say it. So we can see it as breathing into our heart space, or we can see it as breathing in from all the aspects of our being, in through the essence of our being, and back out 360 degrees. And each time we do that, there's this field of energy, the essence, that is getting activated, reminded, kind of supercharged in all kinds of ways. And that's the very energy that we're all working to bring here at this time. Yeah. So one more deep inhale from 360 degrees into that essence. And then we'll exhale back out. There you go. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and open our eyes, and go ahead and put your questions in if you have anything, or any experiences that you're having lately, or things that you just like to have a little bit of a check-in on. So that would be really helpful. I will say that one of the things that I have been hearing while you guys are writing in the box, one of the things that I've really been hearing a lot lately with different clients, private clients especially, is this phrase, the timeless essence of our being. And I find it fascinating that that's showing up. And it has been over the last 2 or 3 weeks, quite a bit. And what that says to me, especially when it shows up in a lot of different people over a short period of time, is there's something that is available to us now collectively that hasn't been available before. So this timeless essence of our being is something that we can start really noticing. We can start living from, activating, expressing as. And I think that one of the biggest things that I've noticed, at least in these clients to date, is there's a fundamental shift in perception. So, we're having a human experience, clearly, and that human experience is, it's an important one. And the question is do we identify ourselves as that which is having these experiences, or are we identifying ourselves as that essence? Are we coming from the human identity, or are we coming through and from that essence of our being? And for those who are really getting that, who are really acknowledging that, that essence is first, and the way it gets expressed, or the way it moves through their life, is kind of second. When they start paying attention to that essence, quite a few things start transforming. So it's been kind of interesting to witness and watch that over the last few weeks. So anyway, Sharon, do you have anything for me?
I have one question.
Okay.
How do you start paying attention to your essence? Like, how do you know?
Yeah. So to me anyway, we spend so much time being external or paying attention to, other people's thoughts and ideas, the woulds, the shoulds, the coulds that literally are put upon us by others. So even just some quiet reflection, even just going inward, and what shows up, what is that space that you're entering when you're inward, when you close your eyes and when you reflect into your own heart or into your own essence, that space is going to feel just like that. It's going to feel like space. What quality does it have? What does it do to your body? What does it do to your awareness to put your attention in that space? That'll start cluing you in or tuning you in to the essence of your own being. Yeah. And as we sit in that field more and more, as we plug into it more and more, that field really starts to grow. And what's really cool is we all come to this planet with that essence fully, fully ready to go. Yeah. It's like we're coming in as that essence. And what happens over time, of course, is we get layered upon everybody else's woulds and shoulds and coulds, and everybody else's idea of what we should be is their interpretation, but it's not the essence of who we are, right? And so it seems like right now, anyway, there's this real possibility to start tuning into that and letting that take precedence, let that become bigger within our field. And it will pretty much, as you start tuning into that, it will pretty much start telling you, you'll notice what that is, you'll notice what that essence is, and who you are as part of it by the reflections that you get back from. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. So, all right. Is there anything else?
I have one person who said they're going to submit a question. They just need a few minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we can just take a few nice deep breaths too while we're waiting. So sometimes just tuning into that essence works really well. Well, it always works really well. We don't often take the time to do it though. One other thing I will say while we're waiting is, I don't know if you all are noticing this too, but the last couple eclipses and the last, just a couple days ago, the solstice, summer solstice, those equinoxes, solstices, they seem like they're really packing a punch these days. And I don't know if you guys are noticing it, but even those who have not been sensitive to that kind of energetic kind of configuration, or astrological configuration, planetary configuration, that energy is ramping up like 3 days before, and it's peaking, and it's holding on for at least 3 or 4 days afterwards too. So I know, at least in my experience, what used to be, a day before the day and the day after seems like it's just elongated more so than it than it has been. Yeah, and there's a lot of depth available to us. We have to remember that we're all being driven back to our core. Yeah, whether it's the core essence or the core issue that keeps us from that essence. Everything that's going on right now out in the world is driving us right back to that. So we can use everything that's going on right now to kind of go, oh, what's that hitting? What's that? What are we noticing about ourselves in that energy? And if we'll keep using that, um, you'll things start getting quieter out there, at least for you. So
I have been actively focusing on spiritual teachings for 25 years, but Phil, I have been on a path for all of my 71 years. So what you are saying resonates. My mother, my best friend, passed away 9.5 years ago, and then my daughter 7.5 years ago on the same date. I have been trying to shift the emptiness inside, but can't. Any thoughts?
mm, mm. Well, one, I'm noticing energetically that here you are in between these generations, kind of acting as a bridge between these generations, and both of them, are both of them leave, and you're here still holding that bridge. Yeah. And so, and it's the image that you give me is just that. It's like let's say if you just have an image of a bridge, there's something on either side, right? There literally is something. Typically there's something on either side. And when there's not anymore those people on that side, you're showing me, the question for you is, what else can you bridge? It seems to me that you were here bridging generations, and you are still bridging, still a bridge. But what other kinds of activities or experiences or realities can you participate in that bridge two worlds? Because you're really good at it. I think it's part of your nature. And you can do that through, you can do that through internal contemplation. You can do that by going out in the world and experiencing the world. And it's not, this is different. You know how some people are like connectors, they're like that connector kind of energy. That's not what I'm seeing here. Not that you couldn't be that, but it literally is that, if you take, two sides of a subject, and there's plenty of them, there's plenty of polarization going on out in the world right now. So you could literally pick any one of those. And there's something about you energetically that when you sit in that, when you contemplate that, you literally are bridging those two worlds. When you're seeing yourself as the bridge, that's exactly what's happening. And I'd also consider that, like, when you go out in the world and you're engaged you're with friends, or you're with other family members, and there's a discord there, or there's something going on, there's something about your energy that when you kind of ignite that, when you elicit, when you bring to the forefront this capacity to bridge, you can kind of just call that forth energetically and just kind of watch what happens. Because I think you'll just kind of notice that people quiet down, people kind of see or have a little more compassion for each other. But you could do it either way. And it's, and I completely understand the loss. And at the same time, you're really pointing me to this position that you held, within these two generations. And even when you go out in the world, or when you consider, what you want to bridge energetically, it doesn't have to be about generations. It's really any divide. Yeah. And there's something about that that really fills you up. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for the question.
I have been feeling a sense of extreme overwhelm internally recently, but feel a big shift occurring. Hard to put into words, but trying my best not to let outside situations and behavior of others affect me or cause additional stress or discomfort, my children and my husband.
Mhm.
As it seems like an endless cycle, I want to be a support to them, but also want to support myself. If I am up and out, they seem to follow. Anything you can offer to help support this?
Yeah, I think especially right now, like I was saying earlier, I mean, everything that's going on in our personal lives, in our collective lives, it's all pushing us back to, or we'll use a less masculine word, it's inviting us back to our essence. It's inviting us back to what stands in the way of that essence. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the more we pay attention to what's going on internally, the more we're uh, focused on what's arising within us and integrating that, the better off those around us are. They're um, and especially when you're a parent, it's easy to say, well, yeah, but my kids need me, or that kind of thing. Or sometimes wives will say that about their husbands. But at the end of the day, um, what, especially in this energetic climate, what really supports everybody is this kind of grounded presence. Yeah. And we don't get that grounded presence by kind of looking out at everything else. We achieve that grounded presence, or come to be in that grounded presence, by paying attention to what's arising within us and meeting it, like literally meeting that part of ourselves. So, if we're, I know, on those days when I'm kind of, or I climb, I go up and out. And again, at some point I have to ask myself, what took me up and out? Yeah. What was it that took me up and out? How am I feeling when I'm up and out? Or how was I feeling when I decided to go up and out? Right. And then just have a conversation with that part of ourselves. And it kind of goes back to the same thing over and over again. It's kind of like a broken record, but it really does the trick. Yeah, because everything in our life that's coming up is coming up to be neutralized. It's coming up to be integrated. It's doesn't always feel like a gift, but it is a gift. It's showing us some part of ourselves that just wants to be met. So yeah. And it is as easy as, wow, I'm triggered by this. I went up and out. What is it that who am I actually talking to? Number one, what part of me is triggered? And then what does it need? And sometimes it just needs to be acknowledged. It just needs to be acknowledged. I notice I've been catching a lot more lately. I've been pretty open with allowing myself to have, at least more recently, all these different facets of myself, and the one that's scared, the one that feels strong, the one that's angry, the one that's whatever, all those different pieces. But I've been noticing lately how protective I can be, how protective I can be of my own heart, and all of a sudden it's like everything that was, what I noticed is everything that was triggering me, it all had something to do with me protecting my heart. It's like I would protect my heart and then I go up and out. And so, what do I really want? What is it that and not what do I want from somebody else, but what can I really give myself in that moment? And sometimes it's just the acknowledgement of, wow, you've been protecting your heart for a really long time. Sometimes it's just that acknowledgement. Wow, you don't feel very safe in this situation. Yeah. And then all of a sudden that part of you kind of goes, oh, I've been heard, I've been seen, I've been recognized. I'm not being made bad or wrong for, being uncomfortable in this moment. Yeah. I hope that's helpful. Hmm.
Okay, this question. I have been getting into some difficulty with someone I live with, and this is a repeating pattern. I am doing a lot of personal work, embedding love, and finding it hard to forgive myself afterwards. Can you say anything about this to let this energy pass without the story entanglement? And then it has, I understand. This is our trauma imprint showing up, and when away from the person can bring compassion to the situation rather than blame and shame.
Right, totally. Yeah, and it's just like anything, that trauma and drama took a little bit of time to imprint and take hold, right? So it also takes a little bit of time to unwind that energy. And or it takes a little bit of time until it doesn't anymore, is the truth. But in this place where you find yourself, it really is a matter of when you get to that place of beating yourself up or being angry that you got angry or frustrated with yourself that you got frustrated. Really, in those moments we just have to stop ourselves and and understand, right? Have some understanding for that part of you, because we know, and you just said it, it's not the adult mature woman self that is getting upset or is trying to infuse love, but maybe isn't getting back what she really wants from that infusion of love, right? Maybe some part of you still looking to infuse love so you can stop the discomfort, right? And so let's just look a little bit deeper there, right? What part of you is attempting to do that? What part of you is attempting to put love into the situation and then it doesn't work quite the way you want it to, and that's frustrating and that's irritating, and then you turn that in on yourself, right? You turn that in on yourself and you make yourself wrong. So we just have to acknowledge these things. We have to acknowledge that that's what happened, and and that we're not, we're all in a process. We're all kind of in a learning curve. Yep. It's not this whole idea that somehow we're supposed to be able to undo something that took lifetimes to do, that it's just like, okay, it's a nice idea, but it doesn't happen that way. Yeah. It's also true, at least in my experience, that it doesn't always have to take forever either. Yep, that we can start addressing these things, and all of a sudden kind of has a chain reaction. It's yeah. So I hope that's helpful. I hope I answered your question.
Or what are some different ways to conserve energy? I do meditations daily, but my thyroid drains it off before the day ends. How can I help myself?
Um, yeah. It's interesting. What you're showing me is, again, we have been conditioned to believe that we only have so much, that there's only so much for any given day. And there's different levels of experience and different ways that we could address this particular question. But for the person who's asking this, there's something really important for you about opening up to the fullness of your field, opening up to the bigness of you, right? Because a lot of times we'll, yes, we'll go into a situation, and especially if we've been exhausted by thyroid stuff, or I've had that my whole life too. But when we've got some physical symptomology that says, okay, we have a limited amount of energy, we go into different situations with that mindset. I only have so much energy to expend. Where do I want to expend it, kind of thing? And it's a great question. But you in particular, it's almost like there's a bigger field, and you could even say there's a bigger voice for you. And there's been some conditioning that, again, there's been some conditioning that's kind of choked that voice off. And so if you imagine, if somebody's got you by the throat, you're only going to have so much energy. And then all of a sudden it's like that's drained out of you, right? So let's take the hand off the throat energetically. Let's take the hand off the throat and let's open to that bigger field, because there's a lot of energy in there. There's a lot of energy in there. Yeah. 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 It doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't kind of modulate when you need to modulate. But I think the key here is that if you're going into the situation assuming that you only have so much energy for that situation, you're going to be depleted faster. Whereas if you go into that situation kind of tuned into the voice that you want to have in that situation, it seems it's very much around how much you say and don't say, is what it feels like, as to how exhausted you become after that interaction or not. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
Yes. My body feels like it's aged a lot over the past year, despite eating well, drinking water, etc. I think it's related to the Ascension process. I wonder how to support myself better.
Yeah, wow, I understand that feeling. I think what we have to understand is that the body is literally working overtime, and you're one of those individuals that, on the one hand, knows that because you are supporting it and attempting to fuel it as best you can to let it do its job. What I will say is that it's like the way it looks to me is like this energy winds down through the different fields. And it's literally every single cell in our body is getting transformed. Every organ, every system, bones, glands, you name it. Every single part of your physicality is shifting and changing into a different vibration. And as it shifts and changes into a different vibration, it has to detox anything that can't go into that vibration. So you've already got this, the water and the food and the this and the that, which is great. But the other thing too is we just have to have some compassion for the body that this is where we are. On the one hand, it's great because we're finally down into physical transformation. We're not talking about some out there energy. This is the physical body is altering. So one, we have to have some compassion for the body. And also we have to have some gratitude for the body and its capacity to go through a process like that. Because in lifetimes past, when you got to this place, you left your body. You didn't make this kind of transformation and stay in a body. Yep, it just wasn't even possible before. So I think, appreciation, gratitude for what the body is going through, supporting it as you would support a good friend that was going through all kinds of things, and you wanted to make sure it was easy as possible for him or her. This is the same thing here with the body. And the other thing I will say is, because I catch myself doing this all the time, and I've really had to check myself on it. When our bodies aren't doing what we want them to do, or feels like it's not quite up to speed, our mindset can be really harsh towards our body. Oh, I'm looking old, or oh my gosh, I've aged so much. What's underneath that is somehow this idea that the body's not doing a good job, or the body's not capable of keeping up. And so let's back away from that first. It is doing an amazing job. It's doing, quite frankly, it's doing something that a body has never been asked to do before. Yeah. I mean, unless you were some master level consciousness in some other dimension or reality where you were doing that purposefully and you had all kinds of support to do that. That's one thing. But here we are, regular moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and kids, and our bodies are just going through that transformation. So yeah, kind, as kind as we can be. Yeah. And it might take more. Your body might be asking for even more than what you're currently giving it. Yeah. We kind of go, okay, it's like, this is what I have time to do. This is what I'm interested in doing. But really just tap into the body. Is that enough? Or because it's kind of extraordinary circumstances right now, the body might have some extraordinary requests too. Yeah. 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 Make sure you're getting not just good water, but good sleep, of course. Make sure that you really do have some time outside. Make sure you have, opportunities to really be grateful for the fact that you even have a body right now. Yeah. There are many moments when you kind of go, oh, maybe not, maybe I'm done, kind of thing. But nevertheless, it's quite a ride.
Yes. In the current climate, I am quite isolated and find myself listening to a lot of guided meditations. And I wonder whether I am not allowing enough space for my own inner guidance to come through. Like, this is an ideal time to be sitting with myself, but this can be challenging at times.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it doesn't have to be either or. Maybe it's both and, this opportunity to, especially if you're feeling a little isolated and things like that, sometimes when we shut everything off and it gets really quiet inside of our heads, or maybe it's not so quiet inside of our heads, yes, that can definitely be a little bit more challenging. So the combination of guided meditation and listening, and it doesn't always have to be, sitting cross-legged on a chair somewhere, that invitation for something to come through you is just that. You're consciously making that invitation, and then go for a walk, or make that invitation and clean your house, or do the dishes, or take a drive. Or you'll find that a lot of times we just forget to invite these bigger parts of ourselves that, yeah, that could know or could offer us something. We just forget to invite them in. Yeah. Hope that's helpful.
Okay, this question is, when feeling stuck, can it be in the body? And can we communicate more easily to release it?
Yeah, I think a lot of time, well, especially right now, I think when you're saying stuck, to me, that means that there's just a coagulation of energy that hasn't been met yet. It hasn't been, we haven't spoken to it. We haven't found out anything about it, right? We haven't actually had a dialogue with it. So wherever, just like when we're having certain feelings and we can say, okay, well, how old is the one that's having that feeling? We can also speak to the different parts of our physical body as well. So, if you've got a block up in your intestines, or you've got your kidneys are hurting, or your head's overwhelmed and that kind of stuff, we can ask those same kinds of questions there. Because again, our life is naturally and organically designed to be fluid, and that includes our bodies, right? We're not designed to be in dis-ease. So what needs to be met in order for that energy to start moving again? So, you have a headache. How does that headache make you feel? What are some of the qualities of it? If you ask that headache what it wanted you to know, or, sometimes if we just start describing the qualities of it, some other story or some other awareness will come to us, right? It's like, oh, it's a pressure. Oh my gosh, I got so much pressure in my head, and I can't see straight. And, whatever those symptoms are, when you see them written down like that, you start kind of going, oh, that's the energy that's holding that particular block in place. Yeah. What does it need? Sometimes, again, it just needs to be acknowledged, and then it'll move again.
How can we uncondition ourselves? How do we actually identify that certain thought, belief, and that is ours, and how do we unravel that in the first place?
Literally moment by moment, by meeting it, by not pushing it away, right? So most people have been conditioned to have, they'll allow certain feelings and they won't allow other feelings. They'll allow certain experiences, but not allow others, and so if you have an identity as someone who's, a nice person, and, kind and loving and all this, and then all of a sudden one day you just get ripping pissed off, something hits that button and you just boom, typically in those moments we kind of go, no, I'm a loving, nice, kind person. I'm not the person that gets ticked off. And so in the moment that happens, I'm not that. That's not me, and we start beating ourselves up for being it, or we just push it away and go try to do something else. But again, we are all that is, ever has been, ever will be. We are all that is, ever has been, ever will be. And so all that is isn't just the lofty, beautiful, zened out experiences. It's all that is, ever has been. And so if that energy is there in that moment, one, let's acknowledge that it is part of us. It is an aspect of us. Yep. Because the minute you push it away, man, it's got to come back again. It's still going to come back to get your attention another round. So let's acknowledge it. Yes, that is how I feel right now. That's where I am. It's not, none of it, the glorious parts or the crappy parts, none of it is who you are, but they're all experiences that you're having. Yeah, it's not, none of it is who you actually are. So let's just bring it close instead of pushing it away. Yeah. And every single time we do that, what we're basically saying to it is, hey, I know that what I truly am is big enough to take this too. It's big enough to invite this in. It's big enough to love this, support this. Yeah. And we literally then start just using our daily lives as our, if you want to call it a spiritual practice, but our daily lives and the way our lives have been set up for us become an opportunity to meet these different parts of ourselves. And when we really see life from that vantage point, things start slipstreaming a little bit easier. Yeah. It just, I forget this all the time. And then I think I like forgetting it, because when I remember it again, I'm always so amazed. So it's kind of like, wow, it's like, there it is again. But when you think about the fact that there are, 7 billion people on this planet, and that each one of them has a different life circumstance, each one of them is triggered by different things, each one of them is encouraged by different things, right? I find it fascinating that the universe sets us up in such a way that everybody is going to get these very detailed reflections of themselves back, so that we can be present to it, so that we can actually meet it, integrate it. Yeah, and on those days when it's really crappy, it's very easy to think that the whole world's working against you. But what if that's not true? What if it's simply showing you something that has blocked, something that has been there for a really long time, or has remained stagnant for a really long time? Yeah, cool.
That is it on questions.
All right, that sounds great. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to share with you guys today. And let's play a little game here just for a second. So let's assume that there are all of these aspects of ourselves, or that there is a time in our future where we really feel pretty integrated. We really feel pretty darn good. Yeah. Where we just feel that we're capable, and that, yes, things are going to arise, but they flow out and through pretty easily. Yep. So whether that's an aspect of you that already exists, maybe a future aspect, let's just pull that aspect of us closer. We're going to just invite it. It already exists. If we're all that is, ever has been, ever will be, we also already exist as that, in that, let's say, that purified state, that integrated state, that conscious, state, a joyful state. Yep. And so we're just going to pull that energy closer in. And you can really do this with anything. If we're having a struggle on one side, that's the aspect of ourselves that we're paying close attention to in that moment. But there is also a part of us that has already overcome that challenge and that obstacle. Yeah. And so if we just for the fun of it, may not change anything in that moment, but just for the fun of it, if we tap into, or even question, even maybe recognize that that aspect of ourself already does exist. If we just felt into that just for a second, oh my gosh, it's that part that's just the part that's in joy, the part that's in awe, the part that's happy to have a physical human body, the part that's just really okay with the world transforming as erratically as it is right now. There's these aspects of ourselves exist. They're part of all that is, ever has been, ever will be. And the more we tune into them, and the more we invite them, the more we tune into them, the more we invite them to become present in our reality. They start taking up space. They start making themselves known. Yep. And so just a little bit of daydreaming goes a really long way. And you can also do it with how you would like to perceive others. You know, sometimes just spending a little bit of time in that energy where, you know, the two of you are enjoying each other's company, where it's easy and it's light and it's fun and it's, yeah. You can literally energetically create that space. There you go. All right. Yeah, play with it. You're really, it's amazing, really. It's like we don't know how powerful we are because we spend time with what is. We don't, so it's almost like we have a field of all that is, ever has been, ever will be. But we're so conditioned to just pay attention to the ones that we always use. You know, every time I get upset, this is what happens, or every time this person comes in, this is how I feel. That it's a very small little box that we kind of pull information from. But let's just move through that. Let's move past that. Where is the one that is in joy? Where is the one that is, because he or she is in there too. Yeah. And for those of you who've got like kind of energetically sensitive kids, I mean, this really works. It really does work to feel. It's not just the law of attraction. It's what I'm getting at here is we are vibrational beings, and we have a tendency to cue into certain vibrations, right? Because it's what we're used to. But what happens if we just play with other vibrational aspects of ourselves, you know? And it, as you start creating that imagery and that feeling in your body, you literally create a vibrational invitation for people to match that. And if we create a well-worn imagery and vibrational pattern in our body, then people know what to expect and they give us that. Yeah. Yeah. Had a little girl not too long ago, went to visit her. A friend of mine wanted me to go and visit her parents. She's had an autism diagnosis, and they were just having a really challenging time with her. And I walked in, and she's boing, boing, boing. She's all over the place. She's just like, she was like on steroids going all over. And it was an adorable kid. I sat down with her mom, and we were just sitting on the sofa, and we started talking. And I said, what would you really like? You know, and she goes, honestly, she goes, it would just be so nice to just sit down and watch a TV show with her, just have it, be quiet and relaxed and this kind of thing. And so we were just, I was like, oh yeah, that would feel good. No, we were just kind of milking it. We were just like, it's like, it would really make you feel like, you had, like you were a successful parent in that moment. You've got that cuddle time, you've got this, you've got that. And as we're just having that conversation, all of a sudden a little girl came right up on the sofa, sat down next to her and put her head on her shoulder. It's like she'd never seen her stop. She had just, but again, it's like we're paying attention to what we're seeing. We're not paying attention to what we would like to create. Yeah. So, and we're powerful enough to get what we put our attention on. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Lots of love. Thanks for joining me tonight, and I'll see you next time. Bye.